Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Jenny Dildine, the LDS Mission Coach, and you are listening to the LDS Mission Podcast, episode number 106, Old Ways of Being. I'm Jenny, the LDS Mission Coach, and whether you're preparing to serve a mission, currently serving, a returned missionary, or a missionary mama like me, I created this podcast just for you. Are you searching for epic confidence, ready to love yourself and to learn the how of doing hard things? Then let's go. I will help you step powerfully into your potential and never question your purpose again. It's time to embrace yourself, embrace your mission, embrace your life, and embrace what's next. Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast, friends, missionaries, RMs, missionary moms, missionary dads, mission presidents. Love you all. Sending you so much happiness and goodwill and love out into the world from my heart to yours. This LDS mission experience, it's not an easy thing. I was actually talking to some friends who are headed out to be mission presidents here in July, just in a couple weeks, and they're feeling a little overwhelmed. And we talked through lots of good stuff. So there are some good people out there who are interested in mental and emotional health, and I'm one of those. And I'm ready to get more help out to more of you, which is just a reminder that we have some really amazing and cool features coming this fall to Jenny Dildine Coaching and all of the work that we're doing with missionaries here. And I cannot wait to share it with you. I've recently hired a handful of coaches to help me get more tools out to more missionaries. And then this fall, I am going to be hiring returned missionary mentors to work with preparing missionaries and do some other work in there. And I have so many ideas, so many new ways to really expand this work. And I just want to say I'm so grateful that you're here because you are helping me expand this work. Anyway, back to the RM mentors. If you're interested in that, and that sounds like something that you would love to do, then just shoot me an email, jenny@jennydildine.com. Or you can actually just reach out on Instagram or Facebook and just say, hey, I'm super interested in that RM mentor thing. We're right now compiling an interest list of RMs who want to be mentors. So that is going to be amazing. And I cannot wait. I'm seriously so excited. Okay. So today we are actually going to be talking about old ways of being. And notice that the title of this podcast is not old ways of doing things, meaning old habits. So sometimes we circle back into old habits. Like for me right now, I'm not in a super good habit of working out. So an old habit would be like, I don't work out. So I did for a while and now I don't. But that's not what we're talking about here, because I really do believe that when we change the way that we're being, that actually changes the things that we're doing. So we're actually talking today about old ways of being. And this came up because I started noticing it with a few of my clients. So we worked together for a little while, and then they're really starting to get better at observing their thoughts. They get really amazing at allowing their emotions. They are all done with blaming people or circumstances for the way that they feel. They're starting to take real ownership of every experience that they're having, which is awesome. And it comes sort of like in waves. So they hit this plateau where everything's really going amazingly well. And then all of a sudden, they come to me on a call, especially if we've been working together for a while, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm back here. I can't believe I'm having these same thoughts and feelings again. I can't believe I'm jealous again. I can't believe I'm frustrated again. I can't believe I'm annoyed with my companion again. I can't believe that I'm resentful towards my parents again. Okay? I can't believe that I'm blaming everyone for what's going on in my life again. So what happens is we start to change and we start to evolve and we start to show up in the world differently. Our way of being is different. And then sometimes we find ourselves getting sucked back into old ways of being. So let's talk about a few examples of this. So maybe after listening to this podcast, or maybe you've worked with me, you are finally to the point where you notice this thought, I'm a bad missionary, and you just have so much awareness of it. You just are super good at observing that, knowing that thought is just normal, that is totally fine that you think that, and we just observe it. And we kind of let it float in through our head and then float back on out. We don't make it mean anything. But now all of a sudden you're having day after day after day where you're like, I'm the worst missionary. And we could apply this to anything, right? Maybe like for me, it would be me observing. I've gotten really good at observing the thought, I'm not good enough, or I'm not a good enough mom, or I'm not a good enough business owner, or whatever it is. But then I will every once in a while have a day where I just believe all those thoughts, and then I kind of spiral down into old ways of being. Or maybe you have gotten really good at feeling your feelings. Maybe you've just been able to, when you start to feel anxiety come along, if you go back to episode number 3, all the feels, I teach you how to feel your feelings. But maybe you've gotten really good at that. Maybe you've gotten really good at allowing the feeling to be there and sitting with the feeling and observing the feeling and describing the feeling. But then all of a sudden, you just notice like, oh my gosh, I'm so doing that again. I'm so resisting all of it. I'm so fighting against all of my emotions. I'm so just feeling like none of them should be there. Maybe you, for a long time, not blamed your companion, not blamed your area, not blamed your district leader for how you feel and for what you're able to accomplish. But then all of a sudden you find yourself back there like, oh my gosh, I'm so annoyed with the district leader. And we're just start blaming again. Maybe for a while you've been really proactive about what you want in your life, about getting a job or dating, and you have your own back and you're really standing up for yourself in your companionship or in your job or in your workplace or with your roommates. And then all of a sudden you find yourself kind of back there where you're starting to fall back into this idea that you are at the mercy of other people. Maybe for a while you've created so much self-awareness. You have created so much self-awareness that you've made a lot of amazing progress towards creating the mission that you want or the job that you want or the dating experience that you want. But then all of a sudden it just feels like it all comes crashing down. And then you start to feel like, I can't do any of this. None of it's working. Let me tell you, rest assured, my friends, that this is okay. I think we sort of believe that when we progress to a certain point or a certain stage of evolution or a certain stage of transformation, that there's no going back. But the truth of it is that there's a few things going on here that you may not give yourself enough grace for. Okay? It is not actually wrong. It doesn't have to be a problem at all that you've kind of gotten stuck in old ways of being. And let me tell you why. First of all, it takes a really long time to rework those neural pathways. I always think of, so the neural pathways are the little connection or synapse that's created in your brain that goes from point A to point B. It's the thoughts that you think. And then those thoughts create emotions in your body. So I always think of those little pathways that are created as a hiking trail. And some of those hiking trails are very clear. They're very easy to go down. There's no debris And so the brain will automatically go to those as often as possible. It's the path of least resistance. And often, if it's a belief or a thought that we have about ourselves, then that neural pathway actually ends up looking like a 6-lane highway. Okay, so imagine trying to move a 6-lane highway from point A. Okay, for the 6-lane highway is going from point A to point B, and then all of a sudden we want it to go from point A to point C. That takes some time, and it takes a lot of thought work, and it takes a lot of like dismantling beliefs about things, and that's okay. Also, another thing is you are human. So when we've evolved or we've changed to a certain point where we're transforming and taking ownership and creating all this awareness about ourselves, we're human. And that means that we're never going to evolve to this person that is unaffected by the human experience. I wish I could tell you that was true, because I've been doing this coaching thing for a long time. And I think at one point I'm like, oh, and then I'll just fix myself so I never have to feel anything, and I never have to worry, and I never have to be sad. And what I'm realizing, you guys, and I hope you take this to heart, is I'm human and you are too. You're never going to evolve to this untouchable person who is unaffected by the human experience, because we wouldn't want that. Even if it were possible, we wouldn't want that. That would make life so boring and bland and vanilla. What we want is we want depth, and we want meaning, and we want purpose, and we want grit, and we want deep feeling experiences. And that's the fun part of being human. And then here's the other thing is life just happens. So it may be the case that if something particularly challenging is going on, or you're in a big time of transition, maybe you just got to the mission, maybe you're in a new transfer, maybe you just got home and life is happening, your brain, because that neural pathway has been so well worn and it's worked, your brain will want to go back to that because it feels comfortable. And so it totally makes sense. All of this makes so much sense that the old way of being, if your brain goes back to that, if your experience goes back to that, it's not wrong. We see this too, right? With people who break up with maybe a boyfriend or a girlfriend that isn't as good for them. It's like just easier to go back to that old way of being. No need to beat yourself up about it though. Don't emotionally think that you're the worst place on the worst person on the planet. Just decide some of these things. It takes a long time to rework those neural pathways. You are human, so you are subject to the human experience, and life happens. It might be interesting for you to notice, like, this is one thing I've noticed about me is I've started taking note of the patterns of when I go back to the old ways of being. But just know that it all makes so much sense. And here's 2 analogies I want to share with you that I hope will give you a little bit of an ability to create more compassion and more understanding for yourself when you go back into this old way of being. Okay, where you start believing things again, like I'm a bad missionary, or you start to feel anxious and resist all of it, or you start blaming everybody, or you're not as proactive, or you're not as self-aware. It's all totally fine. And so here's 2 analogies I want to share with you. Number 1, the toothpaste analogy. There's no such thing as wasted transformation and wasted evolvement. Okay? It's sort of like a tube of toothpaste. Okay? So we're squeezing out a new version of you. This is kind of a silly analogy, but it works for me in my mind. There's no such thing as wasted time or wasted space. Okay? Or wasted energy or wasted transformation. That once we've squeezed all of that out of life that we're living, all of that experience, all of that learning, all of that growth, there's no putting it back into the toothpaste tube. It just already exists. Your transformation, your evolvement, your new version of you, there's no going backwards. And I understand our brain tries to tell us, oh, we're back at square one. There's just no such thing. You are constantly changing and moving and evolving and growing. And that's a good thing. And so we can't shove the toothpaste back into the bottle. So just give yourself so much grace when you're if you find yourself in an old way of being, you're like, oh, I see what this is. I see what's going on here. Doesn't mean that I'm at square one. Doesn't mean like, got to put all the toothpaste is back in the tube. We're starting over. No, it's just your brain. Okay. This is one of my favorite analogies, and I actually share this a lot with my clients. I get out the little whiteboard, I mirror the whiteboard on Zoom, and I draw, if you can imagine in your mind, like a mountain. And I learned this actually from one of my coaches, Amber Smith, who's amazing. But she taught me this analogy, and I love it so much. And so I've been using it with my clients a lot. Is let's say, if you can picture there's this mountain and there's a path that kind of spirals all the way up that mountain. Now, in truth, that mountain is like an eternal mountain. It's always going to be going up and up and up and up forever. Okay. So there is no end point for change and evolution. There's no arrival point, but I also want you to picture maybe on 4 different points on the mountain that there's a line that just goes straight up to the top. So there's the curving line that goes around and around and around the path. And then there's 4 spots on the mountain that are just a straight up line from the bottom to the top. They go just straight up the face of that cone or mountain. Now, this is something I noticed in myself. I was like, as I started to evolve and change, it's like, oh, this thing with my family is so hard. And then I'd get coached on that. And then I'd figure it out. And then I would go up that path a little bit on the mountain. And then I'd be like, oh, my self-worth. I just don't even like myself right now. I got to figure out how to believe in myself more. Right? And then I'd go up the mountain a little bit more. And maybe I get coached on my beliefs about money. And then on the 4th little line that goes totally up the mountain, just straight up the mountain, I get coached on, let's say, my relationship with my husband. Okay? And so we sort of think, and I've seen this so many times with my clients, they're like, oh, I can't believe I'm here again. I can't believe I'm getting coached about my kid, or I can't believe that I'm getting coached about my companion again, or I can't believe that I'm getting coached about my OCD thoughts again, or I can't believe that I'm getting coached about my anxiety again. But when we understand that we're in a constant upward path of evolvement and transformation, we're always going to come back around the mountain. You're going to always hit that one spot where, even though life looks different, even everything around us is different, it's going to be cause for us to get coached again on family stuff, and then get coached again on our relationship with our companion, and then get coached again on our beliefs about earning money and getting a job. And then we're going to get coached again on our beliefs about ourselves. And we're going to go round and round and round the mountain. But all the while, if you notice actually that you're coming back to it, what you could observe is that it is different this time. I've been working a long time on this belief that I'm weak. I think I talk about it almost every podcast. And in my belief in myself to accomplish big things. So every time I come around the mountain, even though it is the same, even though I'm still getting coached on my self-worth, my belief in myself, it is different. That checkpoint is different if I were to observe it closely. It'll be slightly flavored differently. And so you can actually look at that and be like, oh, I'm getting coached on my self-worth again. I must be evolving. I must have done another rotation on that path around the mountain. So none of it is lost. None of it is wasted. If you find yourself in old ways of being, instead of being like, I don't like that. I used to be like that and I don't want to be like that anymore. Just remember, it's not wrong. It takes time to rework those neural pathways. You are human. Totally. You're never going to evolve to this untouchable person that doesn't feel anything or experience life. And also that life does happen, and you're going to come back around that mountain, and then you're going to go on your mission and you're going to come around the mountain again. And then you're going to move to a new transfer and you're going to come around the mountain again and have to reevaluate at each of those checkpoints along the path. And then you're going to come home and you're going to have to reevaluate. And then you're going to dating and you're going to have to hit all of those checkpoints around the mountain every time. And that's what makes life fun. That's why we're here, right? Not to eliminate any of these experiences, but to just keep going, keep changing, keep evolving, keep becoming the version of us that we're meant to be, which is super fun. All right. Okay, you guys, keep going around the mountain. It's okay that you hit those checkpoints over and over and over. That's the way it's supposed to be. Everyone have the most amazing week, and we will talk to you next time. Serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints can present a unique set of challenges. And many of those challenges you might not even see coming. So you're going to want a unique set of solutions. It's easier than you think to overcome worry and anxiety, serve the successful mission you've always dreamed of, and navigate your post-mission experience with confidence. That is why I created some amazing free goodies that I'm sharing in my show notes. Maybe you'll want to grab the free training for preparing missionaries, my video course for RMs, or maybe you and I should hop on a free strategy call. If you're ready to take your preparedness to serve or your preparedness to come home to the next level, then go grab one of those freebies. And in the meantime, no matter which part of the mission experience you are involved in, just know that Jenny, the LDS mission coach, is thinking about you every single day.